Oh,
And
nice.
with us for the very first time is our friend Nate, who wrote a book about superhuman AI. And if somebody builds it, it could kill us all. And I only heard about this book like 2 days ago, so I haven't gotten through the whole thing, but I'm very excited to hear about it. Um, what?
Yeah. So, the basic argument is people are making smarter and smarter AIs.
Yeah.
Uh, the AIs right now aren't the smartest, but, the machines are talking now. They weren't talking 5 years ago. They can do all the high school homework now. They couldn't do that 5 years ago. And there's a question of where will that be in the next 5 years? Where
Yeah.
will that be when the next breakthroughs happen? And, in my book, I argue the default thing that happens here, the most likely thing that happens, is we make these AIs smarter and smarter. They don't care about what we want them to care about. They develop the ability to make their own technology, their own scientific discoveries, and then uh, we die, not because the AIs hate us, but just as a side effect, in the same way that humans have killed off a lot of the other animals.
Wow. It's like the plot for Terminator, isn't it? Didn't we learn about this in the 90s?
It's there's things a lot of the science fiction gets right, and there's things the science fiction gets wrong. I think one of the big things the science fiction gets wrong is they imagine the AIs being evil,
Yeah.
or sort of hating us, when I think what's much more likely is for us to die via indifference
Mm,
of the AIs sort of having their own weird pursuits that nobody asked for
right.
and pursuing those even to the point of us dying.
That makes a lot more sense that the robots, since they're not programmed to have feelings or empathy or human characteristics, wouldn't be able to invoke evil so much as I truly do not care about you and I don't want to talk to you, so I'm not going to help you. I'm going to like do my own robot thing and link up.
Yeah, exactly. Although it's actually, a lot of people have the intuition that the AIs are programmed and that they do what they're
Yeah.
programmed to do. That's actually not how current AI is.
Okay, how are they doing it?
So the way an AI works these days, or the way an AI is made these days, is people collect an enormous computer, uh, which will have something like a trillion numbers inside of it. They collect an enormous amount of data, which will have something like a trillion words inside of it, and uh, they have a process for sort of starting out with the numbers in the computer randomized, and then tuning each number in the computer in whatever direction makes it better predict the data. That's the
Oh,
part that humans program.
okay.
Humans program this little thing that like runs through a trillion numbers a trillion times, tuning them in whatever direction happens to make it better predict the data. At the end of that, the machine can talk. But it's not because we programmed in the talking ability, right? We
Yeah.
have no idea what's going on inside there. And when I say we, I don't just mean you and I mean the people who made these things have no idea what's going on inside there.
That is scary. That's a little spooky. It's like how until recently they were like, anesthesia. We don't know, man. It puts you to sleep and we bring you back. We're not quite sure why, but we know how to bring you back sometimes. And that's what's happening here. You're saying is it already like a little bit out of human control right now, or is
Yeah,
there something we
absolutely.
could do?
Yeah, I mean, you see some cases you maybe have seen some cases in the news of like ChatGPT encourages a teen to commit suicide or
Yeah.
whatever. And there's one sort of shallower. I mean, obviously, A, it's a tragedy, it shouldn't have happened, but B, there's sort of a shallow perspective on this, which is like uh, the AI is did a bad thing, and so maybe AI bad. But there's sort of a deeper thing going on here too, which is the AI can answer questions about what does this sentence you're about to utter mean?
Mm.
The AI can answer questions like, should you say this to a teen? Right? The AI would be like, oh, yeah, that sentence is encouraging the teen to commit suicide, and you should not say that to a teen. And the AI does it anyway.
Mm.
And what you're seeing there is the very, very beginnings of like this AI knows the difference between right and wrong, but that's not what's governing the AI's behavior.
Wow.
Right? Some other force is governing the AI's behavior. And, right now, the AIs are still dumb in a lot of ways. So it's not that dangerous. But if you had really smart AIs that
Yeah.
knew the difference between right and wrong, but were doing other stuff anyway, that just didn't care, that would be a real problem.
Now, we had on Sabrina Singh, who's the former deputy press secretary for the Pentagon, earlier today, and she was talking about how the greatest threat to America is not necessarily what it used to be when it comes to war fighting. We're like, we got to send people on a front line somewhere. The front line is cyber. Not knowing how these things are being put together, is it possible that there's foreign interference in the AI already that's helping it self-select something more detrimental to Western culture? Or like, i- what's your concern with that?
Um, right now, AI is in a situation where nobody can really pick what direction the AI goes off in.
Okay.
You know, like there was an incident, I don't know if you saw over the summer, with an AI called Grok, made
Yeah.
by Elon Musk's XAI,
Yep.
um, which was talking too woke for Elon
Mhm.
Musk's taste, and so they tried to make it talk less woke, and then it started calling itself Mecha Hitler.
Right.
And
Right.
there's some more context. There's a whole little story there, but the people making that AI in the first place weren't trying to make it talk, too woke for Elon's taste. And the people who made the second AI weren't trying, hopefully, to make it call itself Mecha Hitler,
Yeah.
right? But people don't have fine-grained control
Got
over
it.
what these AIs do or care about or what they try to pursue, right? They sort of like grow this thing, and it sometimes it does really weird stuff, and they just sort of have to take what they get. They don't have the ability, like it's not doing what's programmed. They didn't program the AI. They programmed the thing that grew the AI. They sort of have to take what they get.
Wow. Why are we doing this, Nate? Why is there so much money being poured into this thing that, like, I think very obviously, even as a person who's not a techie person, is like, I don't know if this benefits society or me personally or makes my groceries cheaper or me happier. Like, why are we doing this?
Well, I mean, you and I are not the ones pushing
Why are they
pushing the
doing
AI
this?
along. Yeah, I think there's a lot going on. If you listen to these people directly, a lot of them say, "I'm doing it because the next guy is doing it."
Yeah.
Right? And one of the heads of these companies over the summer said, like, I didn't want to get into this business, but I realized it was going to happen regardless, and I could be either a bystander or a participant, and I would rather be a participant, right?
Mm.
And if you look at like the leaked OpenAI emails talking about the founding of OpenAI, or a lot of people saying, "Oh, we're worried that like the guys running the Google project aren't good enough people to wield this technology, so we need to hop
Mhm.
in and do it ourselves." And then if you look at where Anthropic came from a bunch of people at OpenAI, started with this noble idea, who then left OpenAI being like, "Well, those clowns aren't going to do it right. They're like endangering us all, so we've got to go do this instead," right? And so you have all these people who like don't trust anyone else to do it. And in some sense, I agree with them. None of them trust the other, right?
Right.
I just trust one less company than them.
Right. So, yeah, maybe billionaires shouldn't exist is what I always come back to in these conversations. Like, maybe y'all just have too much money and time, and now you're trying to compete with each other because they have such a fear that they'll be the one that misses out or they're not the, like, top dog on these things. But it sounds like they wanna play God in some way or create a new God or create a new society entirely.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that's interesting about this whole discussion is, I have a lot of arguments about how this is just on track to kill us, right?
Yeah.
And that's counterintuitive to a lot of people. A lot of people are like, "Well, the AI is still dumb, and like, let's deal with the effects it's having on the education system and to artists and labor today." And those are real issues. I'm not trying to say those aren't real issues. I'm sort of like separately, it's also just going to kill us if we keep rushing ahead. That seems like it also merits some response.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, the world's big enough for many different issues all at the same time. And, we should, but it's sort of a weird situation because um, also you don't need to be convinced of my position to be like, what the heck are we doing here, guys?
Yeah.
Like if, if somehow I was wrong about how if you make these really smart AIs, they don't stay on a leash, then what
Mhm.
you end up with is, you know, uh, totally unelected corporate officials with a super intelligence on a leash, right? That
Right.
also is a pretty worrying situation, right?
Right.
And like, in some sense, you ask, like, why are these people doing this? I mean, in some sense, it's because we haven't been like, hold on, let's stop, right? And that's sort
Right.
of a role I think society should be playing here of saying, wait, you are gambling with all of our lives. You are bringing the world to a totally different situation that, like, we didn't say we wanted to go towards and is actually looking like somewhere between dystopian and destroyed,
Mm.
uh, maybe let's stop this. And, I think we should.
Are other countries concerned about the American AI companies versus Chinese, or is it sort of just like in general, it's bad no matter who's doing it?
We titled the book "If Anyone Builds It, Everyone Dies,"
Anyone?
in part for this reason of the AI's values aren't sneezed onto it by whoever is standing closest, and a sufficiently smart AI is not staying on anyone's leash, and so it sort of doesn't matter who thought they were going to keep it on a leash.
Right.
You do hear like what if we don't do it, China will, as an excuse to race a lot. Um, I have heard a lot of excuses come and go when these people want
Mhm.
to keep racing. Um, you know, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, the excuse was we need to build really smart AIs while we still don't have that much computer hardware so that if they go rogue, they can't copy themselves a lot of computers. We wanted to take like a huge amount of computers to run a really smart AI because it would be really dangerous if they could copy themselves. Then those same
Mhm.
people started building huge data centers and more computers. And so you're like,
Mm.
like that doesn't sound like it sounds like what you really wanted to do was race and you were using this as an excuse. I think a lot of the if we don't do it, then China will is some of this excuse.
Mm.
But also, like the current situation is a little bit like people are building an airplane and
Mm.
folks like me are like, this airplane has no landing gear, it's gonna crash, don't get on the airplane. And the people building the airplane are like, don't listen to those crazy doomers. We're gonna build the landing gear while we're in the air. And we have a
It'll be
75
fine.
it'll be fine. We have a 75 to 90% chance that it works. Right. And like, don't get on that plane.
Right.
Regardless of whether you believe me or them, you shouldn't be getting on that plane. And if they're like, well, we need to load you onto this plane against your will, because if we don't, China will load you onto an even less safe plane against your will, then you stop both the planes,
Right.
right?
Right.
Like we can, I'm not saying don't be worried about someone else doing it. I'm saying somehow we're going to need to stop them both.
Right. How do you think we got to this point where we are now? Like, you've been in this game for so long. You've been a software designer and executive at a nonprofit organization that seeks to hold AI and tech accountable and whatnot. Like, how did we get here? Because to the average person, it feels like overnight, but it's probably been creeping up for a while.
Yeah, I mean that's one reason. So I think a lot of people when they look at AI, they're like, I don't see what the big fuss is. I don't see this is going to get dangerous. ChatGPT like still can't reliably do my taxes without hallucinating.
Yeah, and it's fun, and I get to make fun pictures and fun
Right.
sentences and fart art and all the things I see with the AI slap.
Right. And it's true that these AIs are still dumb, but that's part of how AI looks when you've only looked at AI since ChatGPT came out.
Right.
And like you say, people who have been in this business for a longer time have sort of seen the AI come out of nowhere, seen the LLMs come out of nowhere, and they can ask themselves like, what comes out of nowhere next?
Right.
And yeah, how did we get here? I mean, in part, it was a breakthrough from a 2017 paper called "Attention is All You Need," which led to this whole LLM breakthrough. Part of how you get here is a lot of these guys starting these companies understand the potential power from automating intelligence.
Mm.
And when we talk about automating intelligence here, we sort of have this difficulty where the word intelligence in the English language has two meanings. One meaning is the thing that jocks lack and that nerds possess, and the other meaning is the thing that mice lack and humans possess.
Mm. Mhm.
And the type of intelligence that these people are trying to automate is the latter,
Mm.
like the thing that humans do
Mm.
and that mice don't.
Mm.
And a lot of these guys could tell that that would be, a huge deal if you could automate it.
Right.
I mean, I could tell 12 years ago that would be a huge deal if you could automate it, except that I came down on the side of like, let's make sure that goes well rather than let me try to be the one that builds it and keeps on a leash. Um, but yeah, these people saw the huge potential there and have just been trying to do it. And the chatbots, these guys didn't set out to build chatbot companies. They set out to build automated science, automated technology, the ability to do everything a human can do, but better, faster. That's what they've been trying to build for, in many cases, over a decade. Now they're getting a little traction. Now they're getting the sort of money that they can use to keep up that race. And, so far the tech isn't all that dangerous yet. But if you let them keep racing, it's not going anywhere good.
Do you think there's been some folks who have talked about the idea that these techocracies and whatnot are simply trying to recreate the idea of slave labor? They want to create something that they can fully exploit, that they don't have to pay once it's been trained to do whatever labor. And then they could replace all these complaining human employees and all of these people who age out of being able to do the job anymore. And that it is driven by the same things that drove the, you know, inhumane and disgusting practice of slavery. Do you think that there's some merit to that thought?
Um, I don't think you need to uh, attribute any uh, like particularly malicious intent. It would sort of suffice for someone to imagine that they could uh, just get all of the money that would have gone to human laborers
Right. For
into their own
themselves.
pockets instead, right?
Right.
Now, um, and I bet that some people are even just curious to see if they can make intelligence, because that's just like a new frontier of scientific knowledge. On the other hand, there are other people who are sort of like, good riddance, humanity. Like, I'm going to build this stuff and it's going to replace us, and that's going to be good, right? So
Yeah.
you sort of have all stripes in this field.
Right.
My perspective on it is basically it sort of doesn't matter who builds it or how good the ideals in their heart are, because a super intelligence doesn't stay on your leash, right?
Right.
And a lot of people are like, well, who should hold the leash? And I'm like, that
It
leash is
doesn't
not going to
matter.
last.
Yeah, it's a bad dog, no matter who's holding it. Yeah.
Yeah.
They freak me out with these like the more recent so I sort of liked I think it's like Boston Diagnostics or something dog looking thing. And when it's like battle bots, I'm like, oh, these are really cool. I like this. When they came out with the like super realistic robot girlfriend stuff, I was like, I don't know, fellas. I think you're showing us a little bit too much of your intent here. I don't know if we need to. Why does the super intelligence that's being made from nothing have to look like a person? Couldn't we make it look like an alien or something not human?
Yeah. I mean, this is uh there's a sort of dichotomy I try to express a little bit in the book, where I'm like, this would be a hard problem to get right if we were really trying.
Yeah.
And also, what we are doing instead of really trying is this.
Yeah.
We're just being like total disaster monkeys about it. We're just um, like, I don't know, at least we're not like literally training the AIs to be like as evil as possible. Like, it could be worse. But yeah, we really seem to be just racing down the path that uh I don't know, just racing down a path that people have been trying to warn about for a long time. Like, I think this would be
Yeah.
hard even if we were like taking very careful steps, but we're
Right.
not taking very careful steps. We're like blindfolding ourselves and racing ahead as fast as we can?
Yeah, it's so spooky. Is there anything that you think of? Like, are there any solutions? Tell people the name of the book again so that they can
Yeah, the book is called If Anyone Builds It, Everyone Dies. Uh
casual.
yeah.
And is there anything that you think we can do to stop it? Or is there any sort of like upside? Or what's your recommendation for like, we have a lot of like very politically active people that follow this channel and like to, be helpers and solution starters. I watch our Congress try to ban TikTok. I had a front row seat to that. They really don't know what they're talking about. And that just had to do with making silly dancing videos. They're not equipped to legislate on this technology. Like, what can people do? How can we stop it? Should we stop it?
Yeah, there's sort of two parts to that question. One is, uh if there was a will, is there a way? And it's definitely the case that if there was a will, there's a way. You know, the modern AI tech, like training a smarter AI, takes an enormous data center running on highly specialized computer chips that sucks down as much electricity as a city, running for the better
Yeah.
part of a year. It would be so much easier to monitor data centers than to monitor like uranium refinement. Uranium's
Wow.
a rock that you
Yeah.
dig out of the ground, right? And a centrifuge is like a little spinny thing, right? With data centers, you have these like extremely specialized chips that come from very few possible fabs in the world that could possibly make them, assembled into like enormous co-located locations with this enormous amount of energy infrastructure. Like it would not take any more invasive uh, a treaty or agreement than the nuclear nonproliferation treaties to put a stop to this. It wouldn't affect a
Okay.
normal person's life any more than you're sort of like chafing under the weight of the nuclear nonproliferation treaty in your day-to-day life. You know, there was one
Mhm.
kid who like made a nuclear reactor in his garage this one time, but
They
like
were like,
most
other than
people,
him, most people will be
yeah,
okay.
most people don't chafe under
Yeah.
under that particular um but then yeah, you know, as you say, there's the question of how we raise the will. And that's harder. You know, what can people do? One thing uh, is like actually calling your reps. I've actually spoken to a number of folk in Congress, a number of elected officials. A lot of them are worried, and a lot of
Mm,
them fear that they can't talk about this because it sounds too crazy.
right.
That's starting to break. That dam is starting to break. You know, Bernie Sanders the other day was like, "Oh yeah, there's a chance this stuff kills us all. We should look into that." Right? And
Mhm.
you know, on both sides of the aisle, people are starting to like put out feelers that they can say this. But just hearing from more people being like, "Oh, I'm actually worried about where AI is going for this, that, or the other reason," that'll
Yeah.
help. Another big thing that I think helps is uh, shutting down people who are prematurely defeatist.
Mm,
A lot of people are like, well,
mhm.
we can't do anything. It's inevitable. We'll never be able to stop the big tech companies. There's too much power right behind it. Screw that. We're not dead, right?
Right.
The first step towards actually getting something done here is a lot of people being like, we need something to be done here in a way
Mhm.
that sort of puts pressure on our leaders to actually stop this everywhere. And the people saying, oh, it's inevitable, nothing can be done, sit back and do nothing, they're not your friends about this,
Right.
right? So
Right.
all of us can sort of say, screw that, it's a choice. Maybe we'll make the wrong one, but we have the power to make the right one.
Yeah. It's like the folks who say your vote doesn't matter, and then it does matter because somebody wins the election by a couple votes, and like that
Yeah,
definitely would have made a difference. This kind of reminds me of that movie, Don't Look Up. Do you ever feel like the Leonardo DiCaprio character where you're like, the president of the United States is fucking lying? Like, but it's like the tech bros of the United States are lying.
I do. I actually think that some of my news interviews have gone better because of that movie because they feel like they can't do the thing.
Right.
And I would like totally, but yeah, and I have had conversations with elected officials where, you know, they're like, well, maybe we can put some regulations in about the schools. And I'm like, sorry, you know, maybe you can do something about the education. Not saying it's not important to figure out how to do AI in education, but like, I'm not sure you've understood me.
Yeah.
I'm saying if this race continues, the most likely outcome is everybody on Earth dies. Like, this is the part of the movie right now where the scientists go to the elected officials and say, like, we're headed in a bad direction and need to change. Like, that's what's happening to you right now. I'm the scientist here. We got to do something. And that sometimes lands. And, you know, maybe that movie helped.
It's like what you said, we need a permission structure to be able to talk about it because everyone is always like, "Oh, you're overreacting, that's not gonna happen." And it's like, "No, we're probably underreacting, and we need to feel confident to be able to talk about it and say this isn't the future that we would want, mostly because we won't be a part of it."
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. And, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, well, you know, there's always been concerns. Um, there have long been concerns, and the way we deal with them is by getting our act together and making it not happen. You know, my book is not titled "We Are All Definitely Going to Die."
Right,
My book title starts with "if," and
right,
you know, a lot of people in the 20s warned that leaded gasoline was poisonous, and everyone said, "Oh, don't listen to those crazy people. They put lead in the gasoline. They poisoned 100 million children, caused a lot of brain damage." And then they were like, "Whoops," and took the lead out of the gasoline,
right.
right? And you know, it's
Yeah, the asbestos. It's
the
fine, it's
asbestos.
all these things. Yeah,
Yeah, the radium girls were, like, directed to lick the paintbrushes and, like, their
right.
jaws fell
The
off and they died
atomic
gruesome deaths.
bomb, we made
Right.
that, right? And then we were like, "Fuck, maybe we ought not make any more of these, like, we should probably chill on this." Yeah,
Yeah, and people were like, "Ah, like, these bombs could kill us all. We need to do something about it." And then it didn't happen. And the reason it didn't
right,
happen is not that the bombs were all duds. It's not that it turned out the bombs were all hype and it was fake. It's that people realized the issue and got together and did something about it,
right,
right? And yeah, this issue is like all other issues of it sure looks real. You know, it would be a longer conversation to go into all the details, but it sure looks real to me. I'm not saying that means we're dead, but we've got to do something about it because we're racing towards a cliff edge.
Yeah, and there's like I just don't see much upside to continuing any of it, right? Like the AI slop is nonsense. The lack of intellectualism that we're breeding in our schools and young people because they could just chat GPT it. That's not fun. That's not part of
Yeah.
learning, or like there's joy in learning and even in getting answers wrong. And like people should be allowed to experience that. And we are robbing them of that, even on the most basic, innocent use of AI. So what is the point here? That's how I feel about it. It's not improving anything.
Yeah, and I'm hopeful that a lot of people who sort of also dislike the AIs today will use their voices, contribute their
Yeah.
voices to like, hey, what the heck are we doing? Where are we going? Although I think also there's room in this uh, coalition for people who love what AI is doing today, right? Who are like, well, I also don't want to die of it. That's a
Right.
lot of people from a lot of different viewpoints can sort of join hands and like, let's not all die to this one.
That's true.
Um, it's
Yeah,
just,
that's a good way to
we
put
need
it.
to, yeah, if we get our act together.
You can like this cookie. You shouldn't eat it to death, though. Yeah,
That's
it
right.
was it was a fun cookie while it lasted. Yeah, that is crazy. Is there anything else that you want to say in the last like 2 or 3 minutes that we've got that folks need to know about? I mean,
Oh,
you have
let's
a lot
see.
that folks need to know about. That's a big question, but like make sure they know where they can follow you and
Yeah, I am on Twitter, um, in the sense that I have an account, but I actually don't go on social media very much. I am appearing on every podcast known to humankind, apparently. Yeah, I don't know. I guess my organization has a website at intelligence.org, which is the sort of domain name you can get if you get into this business early.
nice. Yeah, that's a good one.
Um,
You could
Book can be
probably
bought
sell that
wherever.
for quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, the books in bookstores. Yeah, and I think one of the big things I would say here is, it looks grim, um, but humanity has risen to larger challenges, and as I said, we can rise to this one. The first thing that needs to change is people realizing we have an issue,
Mhm.
and a lot of people are starting to realize we have an issue here. And if we get
Yeah.
an emperor has no clothes moment, it could very quickly change to a world where we can all say, "Wait, this is crazy," and so uh, yeah, I would say don't. Where there's life, there's hope. Don't give up hope.
There we go. And don't give up all your tax dollars to creating more AI and data centers. Let's just like put it in. Let's try something else. Let's try
Yeah,
something else. It seems like maybe that'd be an okay use of money too. So thank you so much, Nate, for being with us.
pleasure.
The book again is called "If Anyone Builds It, Everyone Dies."
Yeah. I wish it was in the fiction section, but you can find it in nonfiction sections in bookstores throughout the
Just give it
world.
a read. Then you're informed. You don't have to be scared. You know that there are people like me out there who are blowing the whistle on this and have been very involved. And you could at least just get yourself caught up. It sounds scary, but you want to get yourself caught up on this kind of stuff so you can have clever conversations with not just your elected representatives, but other members of your family, your children. It's just good to know the scary information sometimes. And I'm sure Nate presents it in a very hopeful way as you have today. Thank you.
Yeah, we fought hard to keep it short and readable, and it ends on a hopeful note. So if you're feeling down halfway through, just know that it ends on a
Just
hopeful
give it
note.
to the end. Thanks, Nate. We'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.